concerns about potential bias, as it could lead to unjust recommendations that favored Leanne, impacting the decisions made by the judicial system. In this instance, the probation officer provided a report to the 7-member Extended Juvenile Jurisdiction (EJJ) panel that omitted crucial information about Leanne's high school history, only covering events up to the 8th grade. This selective reporting influenced the panel's perception of Leanne's background, which ultimately swayed their decision. The EJJ panel's decision. The EJJ panel was tasked with determining whether Leanne should be certified as an adult based on the severity of his crimes. The vote was close, with a 4-3 decision against certifying Leanne as an adult. Among the panel members was the same probation officer who had supplied the incomplete report. This dual role created a clear conflict of interest. Leanne was only 80 days shy of his 18th birthday at the time of the incident, and many felt that his past behavior warranted adult certification. The serious nature of his actions, combined with his criminal history, suggested he should face more stringent consequences. Despite the panel's decision, the ultimate authority rested with Judge Carter, who had the power to accept or reject the panel's recommendation. Unfortunately, it appeared that Judge Carter had made his decision prior to considering the full breadth of Leanne's history, which included the recommendations of the state's forensic psychologist. This psychologist had reviewed Leanne's case and determined that, given the severity of the crime, he should be certified as an adult. The panel, however, did not reconvene to discuss this recommendation, a significant oversight considering the gravity of the situation. 2 innocent lives had been lost. The victims, Dalton and Taylor. Dalton and Taylor were beloved members of their community, and their deaths left a profound impact on family, friends, and local residents. Dalton was a promising young man with dreams and aspirations, while Taylor was deeply involved in community service, advocating for causes she believed in. Their loss was not just a tragedy for their families, but a loss for the community that they had both enriched with their presence. The circumstances surrounding their deaths were a direct result of reckless driving. Leanne, alongside another individual named Camille, engaged in street racing, a decision that would ultimately cost Dalton and Taylor their lives. The recklessness displayed during this event was not an isolated incident. It reflected a broader trend of dangerous driving behaviors that had increasingly plagued communities. The legal proceedings. In the aftermath of the incident, the legal proceedings revealed numerous systemic flaws in how juvenile cases are handled. One of the major concerns was the disparity in restitution amounts determined by different authorities. Initially, the Corrections Department determined that Leanne would be responsible for approximately $8,500 in restitution to the families of the victims. In contrast, the documentation provided by Dalton's family indicated that the amount owed should be over $29,000 due to various factors, including life insurance, student loans, and car payments. This disparity highlighted a serious flaw in the system, as both individuals were equally guilty in the eyes of the law. The changes initiated as a response to this case aimed to address these systemic issues. Firstly, reports submitted to the EJJ panel must now include complete information about a juvenile's history, ensuring that no pertinent details are left out. Furthermore, the intake parole officer assigned to a case can no longer serve as the juvenile's current probation officer, reducing conflicts of interest. The restitution process was also amended. Now, it falls to the judge rather than the Juvenile Corrections Department to determine the restitution amount, eliminating arbitrary caps previously imposed. This change allows for more equitable outcomes that reflect the true impact of the crime on victims' families. Moving forward, as Leanne underwent rehabilitation at Red Wing, the only facility in Minnesota dedicated to juveniles who commit serious crimes, concerns about the effectiveness of the program emerged. Leanne was placed in a program that did not provide specialized rehabilitation for those involved in violent crimes, leading to questions about the adequacy of the treatment he received. In fact, reports revealed that juveniles at Red Wing were receiving the same classes as those incarcerated for less severe offenses, such as theft. Veronica, a family member of the victims, raised valid concerns about the nature of rehabilitation offered to juveniles. She argued that juveniles, even those guilty of heinous crimes, often receive lighter sentences, which can undermine the severity of their actions. In this case, Leanne received a mere 25-month sentence, a stark contrast to the lives lost due to his reckless behavior. As discussions about juvenile justice reform continued, community leaders and activists began to advocate for changes that would prevent similar tragedies in the future. A proposal was put forward to raise the age of juvenile jurisdiction to 21, reflecting the understanding that brain development continues into the mid-20s. Supporters argued that extending juvenile status would provide additional opportunities for rehabilitation and would ensure that young offenders are held accountable for their actions. The call for reform was not limited to age restrictions. Community members emphasized the need for harsher penalties for reckless driving and more comprehensive educational programs focused on responsible driving and the consequences of dangerous behavior. There was also a push for increased public awareness campaigns to address the dangers of street racing and aggressive driving. Advocacy for change. In the wake of Dalton and Taylor's deaths, Veronica and other advocates began working with organizations like Street Racing Kills, aimed at raising awareness about the dangers of reckless driving. This initiative focused on education and prevention, working to ensure that no other families would endure the pain that Dalton and Taylor's families faced. Veronica took on the role of overseeing the organization in her area, dedicating her efforts to prevent further tragedies through community outreach and educational programs. Veronica's resolve to fight for justice extended beyond her personal loss. It became a mission to bring about systemic change. She recognized that the system needed to hold individuals accountable for their actions and ensure that justice was served not just for Dalton and Taylor, but for all victims of reckless behavior on the road. Conclusion? The tragic case of Leanne serves as a stark reminder of the failures within the juvenile justice system. While there have been steps taken to address some of these issues, the fight for justice and systemic reform is far from over. The loss of Dalton and Taylor should not be in vain. Their legacy must live on through advocacy for better policies, harsher penalties for reckless driving, and comprehensive rehabilitation programs tailored for those who commit serious offenses. As the community reflects on this tragic event, it is crucial to continue advocating for change that prioritizes the safety of all individuals on the road and holds offenders accountable for their actions. Only through continued efforts can we hope to prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future. The fight for justice is ongoing, and with it comes the hope for a safer, more just world for everyone. The tragic case of the Kamal family unfolds against a backdrop of financial strain, legal disputes, and ultimately, a devastating murder-suicide that shocked their community and sparked a complex investigation. This narrative delves into the events leading up to the tragedy, the aftermath, legal implications, and the profound impact on those left behind. Background and financial struggles. The Kamal family, originally from India, appeared to epitomize the American dream upon moving to Massachusetts. Rakesh Kamal, a former Harvard Business School employee, and his wife Tina lived with their daughter Ariana in a sprawling $4 million mansion in a prestigious neighborhood. Despite outward appearances of affluence, their financial situation was precarious. In the years leading up to the tragedy, the Kamals found themselves struggling to maintain their lavish lifestyle. Financial records revealed that the Kamals had borrowed heavily to finance their mansion, with significant debts to Wilsondale Associates, the company that built their home. By early 2021, they owed approximately $3.8 million, and by September of that year, Tina filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy, listing liabilities between $1 and $10 million. However, the bankruptcy case was dismissed within a month, indicating the family's inability to navigate their dire financial situation. The family's financial troubles continued to escalate, exacerbated by their ongoing residence in the mansion despite facing eviction proceedings starting in September 2022. By December 2023, foreclosure on their home was imminent, scheduled for the same day as the tragic events that unfolded. The pressure of impending eviction, coupled with their mounting debts, created an overwhelming sense of hopelessness and despair within the Kamal household. The events leading to the tragedy. On December 28, 2023, the day the Kamals were to vacate their mansion due to foreclosure, the family was discovered in a horrific scene. Rakesh Kamal had allegedly murdered his wife Tina and their daughter Ariana before taking his own life. The discovery was made by Rakesh's brother, who had grown concerned after being unable to contact the family for several days. As the investigation unfolded, Initial reports indicated that days before the tragedy there had been a significant development regarding the family's life insurance policy. Allegedly, Tina Kamal's brother disputed the validity of her signature on a policy change that potentially shifted the beneficiary to Rakesh's brother. This dispute added a layer of complexity and suspicion surrounding the motive behind the tragic events. The investigation further revealed that Rakesh had become increasingly withdrawn in the weeks leading up to the incident. Friends and neighbors reported noticing a change in his demeanor, with some expressing concerns about his mental well-being. Those close to the Kamals described them as a loving family, raising questions about what could have driven Rakesh to such a horrifying act. Investigation and legal ramifications. Massachusetts State Police launched a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the murder-suicide. The discovery of typed and printed suicide notes at the scene suggested premeditation, raising questions about Rakesh Kamal's state of mind and intentions leading up to the killings. The notes, addressed to various family members and friends, revealed a level of despair and hopelessness that had plagued Rakesh for some time. Additionally, an unregistered firearm was reportedly used in the crime, further complicating the legal implications. The investigation sought to determine how Rakesh acquired the weapon and whether any legal issues surrounded its possession. While Massachusetts has strict gun laws, the presence of an unregistered firearm at the scene raised concerns about potential lapses in regulation and oversight. Despite the shocking nature of the crime and the evidence pointing toward premeditation, legal experts noted that Rakesh Kamal, having committed suicide, could not be prosecuted criminally. However, the investigation focused on potential financial fraud related to the life insurance policy, as well as ensuring that any remaining assets were distributed according to legal and ethical standards. The possibility of insurance fraud became a crucial aspect of the investigation, leading authorities to delve into the financial dealings of the Kamal family and scrutinize their debts and assets. The role of the life insurance policy also became a focal point in the investigation. Tina Kamal's brother's dispute regarding the validity of her signature raised concerns about potential manipulation and deceit within the family. If Rakesh had indeed altered the beneficiary information without Tina's knowledge or consent, it would add a layer of complexity to the tragedy. Investigators sought to understand whether financial gain could have motivated Rakesh's actions. Community and family impact. The Kamal family's tragic end sent shockwaves through their community, leaving extended family members and friends grappling with grief and disbelief. Friends and neighbors recalled the Kamals as a loving and seemingly happy family, which made the events even more incomprehensible. Ariana's boyfriend Owen, who was planning to visit the Kamals for the holidays, was particularly affected by the news, struggling to process the loss of his girlfriend and the senseless nature of the tragedy. In the aftermath of the tragedy, community members rallied to support one another as they attempted to make sense of what had occurred. Vigil services were held in honor of Tina and Ariana, allowing friends and neighbors to come together to share their memories and mourn the lives lost. The impact of the Kamal family's demise extended beyond their immediate circle, as the broader community sought to understand the underlying issues that may have contributed to the tragedy. Mental health awareness became a significant theme in discussions surrounding the case. In the wake of the tragedy, local organizations and advocates emphasized the importance of seeking help and support during times of financial and emotional distress. The Kamal family's story served as a reminder of the hidden pressures that can lurk behind seemingly affluent facades and the devastating consequences of untreated mental health issues. Legal and financial fallout. In the aftermath of the murders, legal battles ensued over the disposition of the Kamal family's remaining assets, including the mansion and any life insurance proceeds. The validity of Tina Kamal's alleged signature change on the insurance policy became a focal point, with implications for who would receive the payouts and whether any foul play or forgery had occurred. The Massachusetts State Police's 62-page investigative report, obtained through an open records request by the Boston Globe, shed light on the meticulous nature of the investigation. While criminal charges against Rakesh Kamal were impossible posthumously, the investigation aimed to clarify the events leading up to the tragedy and ensure that justice, albeit in a financial and administrative sense, was served. Legal experts predicted a protracted legal battle over the Kamal estate. Given the complexities of the bankruptcy proceedings, the potential for contested claims related to the life insurance policy, and the looming foreclosure, the division of assets would not be straightforward. In addition to potential disputes among family members, creditors also sought to recover outstanding debts from the Camel's estate, further complicating matters. The local legal community watched closely as the case unfolded, recognizing its potential implications for similar cases in the future. The interplay between mental health, financial stress, and legal accountability highlighted the need for a more comprehensive understanding of the factors that contribute to such tragedies. Reflections and lessons learned. The Kamal family's story serves as a stark reminder of the hidden pressures that can lurk behind seemingly affluent facades. It underscores the devastating consequences of financial stress and the importance of seeking help and support during difficult times. Moreover, the case highlights the need for vigilance in estate planning and the management of financial liabilities to prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future. In response to the Kamal family's tragic story, local organizations began to develop programs aimed at raising awareness about mental health and financial literacy. Workshops were organized to educate families on recognizing signs of distress and providing resources for those struggling with mental health challenges. The case ignited discussions about the need for a more robust support system for families facing financial difficulties, emphasizing that no one should suffer in silence. The tragedy also prompted calls for improved